Thanks for joining me. I'm going to do some more on this 3-Eye Atlas today because the Most High Yahweh has given me more information. I want to keep you updated so you don't, get lost in the tumbling and information online. Yeah, a lot of people are talking about the 3-Eye Atlas, but nobody's really talking about what is coming, what is going to happen after it arrives. And I feel that the Most High is giving me this directive to make sure you understand what's coming. Because what does he say? He always reveals his plans to those who are listening so they can reveal it to his people. And I'm going to go over a few things that he's given me in the last few weeks, let's say days, because I've been giving you little bits and pieces. All right, so why are they coming? They're coming to take possession of their base, which is America, Babylon. What do they want? To be visibly seen as gods, no longer hidden in America's shadow. So they more or less built America up, just like the U.S. built Israel up, and armed them to the teeth and gave them billions over the course of many years. It was an investment, basically. And America felt like, okay, this is my investment. And when I need Israel, or when I, want them to, strategize against the Middle East, that is going to be my investment paying me back, right? Okay. So the same thing happened with these hybrid creatures who made their nest in the stars via Satan and the fallen angels. They thought to themselves, okay, we have to have a base on earth. And that base is always going to be Babylon, of course. But this is the last stand. This is their last stand. They know they don't have time to do anything else but come here. And I'm going to explain that as we go on. Watch this. What they plan on doing when they get here. To convert America into their staging place. Building their army for future conflicts. So in all of this, remember, you got Yahweh's throne, which is in Jerusalem. It will always be his throne, even though there's not a temple there. And then you have the west, the seat of the beast, the seat of the dragon. Everybody knows, the players know who they are and where their base is. Base camp for Yahweh is in Jerusalem. That's why he's trying to clean those people out. Those calling themselves Jews, and we know who are not. And he had to allow everything to happen there the way it's happening now to expose everybody, expose the truth of what these people were doing. Now that's another story. Okay. So how will this affect humans in America? At first, they will see it as a positive. And now, like I told you in the first video I did about 3-Eye Atlas, when they first come in, they, come towards that place where, that point where they're crossing over they're already, into our space, but they're crossing over past the sun. It's going to stop. This 3-Eye Atlas is going to stop, as I told you before. The Most High said it's going to stop. And they're going to request that they be allowed to come into our atmosphere. That means, within the Earth's atmosphere. At first, the higher-ups are going to say no. But then, because they have a visual and they see they're the tall whites, they're more or less the emissaries, the ones they put up first. With blue eyes and blonde hair and white skin like Nordic. The European pagans can't resist their own. They look at Israel. You got Europe and all of them having meetings about how terrible it is, how they're crushing the Palestinians. But because they look like them, we're talking about the Jews. And because they've invested so much money and time, they can't bring themselves to the precipice of saying, we got to stop this. We got to send in the United Nations. We got to do whatever we can do to stop these people from killing these innocent people. But see, that's the tripwire. Because they're whites, basically white European pagans, they can't cross that line into doing what's right. So this is what's going to happen to this envoy that's coming in this 3-Eye Atlas. They're going to be received after, they see the visual and they talk to them and they explain what their supposed mission is. And then things are going to go on from there. Things are going to get bad, but not at first. You know, the European pagans and these people are genetically connected. Let's put it like this. From ancient times, these hybrids went up into the stars. You know, they mixed and mingled with Japheth's seed and produced many, you know, hybrids on Earth, and then they went up into the stars. So they are distant, let's say distant relatives, but not nice ones. They might look a certain way, but they're not. So at first it's going to seem like a positive. You know, America's sort of falling apart. You got all this stuff going on. You got all kind of laws being changed. The people are becoming divided and stressed out and anxious. And so at first it's going to be like they're quasi-messianics. They're coming to calm everything down and show us knowledge and science and help restore our planet to something similar to what they live and dwell in. You know how to man, you know how to work it. But after they are given more control, which of course, like I explained in the other video, they have a lot of control already, but it's covert, underground. They don't make themselves known. They worked hard for the last 50 years to keep everything quiet, so nobody really knew they were there. But now they're going to do this more or less for the people. So for the Earth's people, they're doing this so that we can say, oh, okay, they're making first contact. They seem okay. We invite them in. But here's the tripwire. It's just like Eve. Eve's greatest sin was disobedience because God had told her not to touch the fruit. And so when she talked to Satan and she listened to him, she basically verbatim said she understood what God told her not to do. So once she bypassed that and she did what Satan told her to do, she more or less gave him permission to do next what he wanted to do. And as you might read in the book, what he did next was he had sex with Eve and produced Cain. So these entities know they can't really reveal themselves unless they get permission from the people of America and from the rulers. And so that's what they're going to get. They're going to get permission, or else they couldn't show themselves. They would always have to be hidden. But they're showing themselves because they want to take the position and they want to, you know, get their investment back. They have invested a lot of time, a lot of covert operations, a lot of CIA interacting so that they could finally come over and take over America as their base camp. Okay, so you might ask yourself, well, why is God allowing this? You know why he's allowing it? Let me explain this to you. Okay, look at the history of the Edomites, the Canaanites. All of them were, you know, Canaanites. You call them Edomites, Girgasites, Amorites, but they were all descendants of Japheth. And Japheth's people, which Japheth was a Titan, by the way, had this thing that they could not stay away from these fallen angels and the fallen angel hybrids. They loved sin. They loved mixing and mingling with them. And so fast forward now to our time, this is the last Babylon. And what did they do? They fell right into mixing and mingling with the hybrids again, letting them come to the earth, let them take people and specimens and do whatever they wanted to. And now they want their investment. They want a return on their investment. And according to the Hopi prophecy, these two, they call them kachinas, which really is like a type of wolf dog. They're coming down and they want to merge with their brothers, the Edomites, basically. So when they merge, they consider this is going to be a final, approach to being able to raise an army and fight against Yahweh Most High and his anointed. That's what it's all about. But they're using humans. And that's why you have all these 5G towers going up in the midst of COVID when it should have been focusing on helping the people. Everybody's scratching their head. Why are these 5G towers going up? Like in record time. It was all in preparation for these arrival, for them to finally take possession of America. And the food and the water and the seemingly lots of processing plants being destroyed like a few years ago. Boom, boom, boom. One after the meat processing plant. And now they moved the Mexicans out. They moved the Mexicans out for a couple of reasons. Less people means more control. And the Mexicans also had a key. They were the ones that took care of the food, the growing of the crops in the field. Well, you take them away, what crops are going to die in the field? You're not going to have people harvest them. That means less food for the people who are still in America, and that means more control. Now, this thing about, stopping crime and locking people up and closing, things and not having ability to get out of jail without cash. These are wonderful things that we think are wonderful things, and they are, but they should have been going on 70, 80 years ago when the white man Edomites were killing and murdering and maiming. So once you let a people become lawless, then it continues down the generations and everyone starts to participate. So I guess a day late and a dollar short for that. But what's going to happen is they're actually helping these visitors to manipulate and be in more control, because the people in the hood that be packing, you'll be thinking, I wish we had somebody to stand up for us, because there's not going to be anybody. It's going to be lockdown. Okay, right? So everything's working itself out so that at the end, they will be in total control. Even the people that you think is running your government won't be in total control any longer. So I want to tell you that. Now, you might have heard of the one that came in 2017, and then another little one that said it looked like a cigar, interstellar object, and then another in 2019. Ironic, it was 2019 when everything jumped off, and it was 400 years. Well, God said these were probes. They were sent to reinforce the power that this in America of darkness. So in other words, they came to, check, see if darkness has grown dark enough, because they can't come in and take over until the people are in a position where they're totally done gone off the grid as far as righteousness and holiness. And I know people say, well, there's lots of churches in America. Yeah, but there's a lot more wickedness and evil going on than churches. You know what I'm saying? So they had to check and see how this thing was tallying up. So these probes were sent to take visuals, to take information back. And once they saw everything was ripe and ready in America, because it is, and every president that came in the last, 15 years, he's been helping to push this thing along, and now darkness is full speed ahead. So the next thing is, like I said a while ago about how they're going to see this envoy, which is going to look like them, blonde, tall whites. And let me tell you another thing. You don't know this, but a lot of these are already mixed and mingled into our military. When I was living in Hawaii almost a year ago, like I said in one of my videos, I knew and had a dream about them already coming there, setting up things, getting things ready online for what's up ahead. So I'm going to try to put the links in some of these videos, because you need to understand what's getting ready to happen. So, seduced. So basically, the world was seduced into worshiping the white dragon. Satan is I won't say a white man, because that confuses the mind. Satan is a white being. He has white hair, white skin. I have seen him many times in visions and dreams. Did some WWF SmackDown with him myself, just trying to, because he knows servants, he wants to take them out before, they get to speak for the Most High. So let me explain to you, this being, what he looks like. He has blonde hair. He has pure white skin, as white as this shirt. Hair as white as this shirt. His eyes are a very light, so light the iris looks like it's white. Then a pinpoint size pupil. And the reason I'm explaining this to you is because you got to understand, this was a world seducing plan by the dragon. He wanted the whole world to become his image. We hear about, the people in Germany and how they was trying to, no, that was Satan's plan, to make everyone either worship white people, blonde hair, blue-eyed white people, or to be under their control. So what happened was, this image was spread all over the world. I mean, I've been to other countries, what you would call indigenous countries, like, Thailand, Philippines, places like that, where people are more or less of my color, and maybe if you like, and South Korea, you go to the store and you see whitening. I mean, on soap, on creams, on gels. Anything that you put on your body has whitening on it. That's part of the white dragon agenda, to turn everybody into this weaponized, white desiring. Even some of our people bleach their skin and blonde their hair. It's almost like a mental control. And so naturally, the next thing is you put down the people who are brown, darker, blacker. It was all the white dragon, I call it agenda. And so now these beings are coming back to merge with their distant relatives. But they consider themselves more superior than the European pagans on the earth. And that's going to be a problem eventually. And so once you invite somebody in who, wants to be a master or God, guess what? You become a servant. So now these hybrid humans who bear the same image will take control of America. And like I said before, they need permission first. Permission is going to be granted. God Yahweh is allowing it because Babylon served these creatures and covertly helped them complete their agenda. God is allowing this, and because of them worshiping this white image, weaponizing, the Edomites, the white pagans, to the point where nobody can live in the world and, have a kind of life without serving or being under the control. Now, they understood, we're talking about these emissaries that's coming, what's coming. They understood that the end would be the showdown, and they are allowed to raise an army of creatures and humans who have been serving them. However, only Yahweh has the playbook, and he can shift and change it any way he likes. Now, I'm going to read to you in a minute what's going to happen to them after they finish getting their little army together and, they try to make war and do all their little things. What's going to happen is, watch this. It says, I'm reading from Isaiah 24:21. It says, that day Yahweh will punish above the armies of the sky. Talking about up from the sky, these hybrid creatures. The armies of the sky, below the kings of the earth, they will be herded together, shut up in a dungeon, confined in a prison, and after long years punished. The moon will hide her face, the sun be ashamed, for Yahweh Sabaoth will be king on Mount Zion in Jerusalem, and his glory will shine in the presence of his elders. Now that's telling you something. That's telling you that even though these two groups are converging and coming together, and what the Hopi prophecy called the Kachinas would be merging, in other words, the two brothers, those living in the stars and the Edomites living on the earth, and specifically in America. And so once they merge, of course, one's going to be ruling, and so things are going to start taking place. Now, at first, like I said, it's not going to be a blowout, like, oh, they came, like, and then it's going to be, everything's already being prepared. You notice the lockdowns, the changes in the laws, and the Mexicans being herded out. All of these things are in preparation for these people to come. The people, creatures. I call them creatures. Okay, so this is why his people, Yahweh's people, he told them to cling to what he said. In other words, you don't know, when you read Revelations, you get a lot of information. But you don't know in between certain points in Revelation what's actually going to happen, right? And so he didn't want to put everything, even Revelations is not in total complete order. It's not in order. And I believe God allowed that because he didn't want his enemy knowing what everything was going to happen. So what I'm trying to say is, that means whatever God told us to do, we have to just do. When he said flee, you flee. When he said go here, you go here. Because you don't know what's coming down. You don't know all the events. You know part of them because you're looking in the book of Revelations. But he can't reveal everything to the enemy so that the enemy will be off his course. There's something God had lined up for America for them to be able to do. Allow the Antichrist these creatures, these hybrids, these satyrs, there's certain things they're going to be allowed to do. But there's certain things they are not going to be allowed to do. And there's certain things God is going to have accomplishing that he doesn't want them to know. Just like I told you in one of my videos, the Most High told me 6 months before that he was going to have Hamas start a war. There was going to be a war in Jerusalem. But he told me, shh, don't say anything. So some of these things he reveals and some of these things he holds back. Now, the key to us surviving as the holy chosen people and being able to return to Jerusalem is listening, obeying everything he says. If he says run and flee, you get out of the line of fire. You don't stand there and say, I'm waiting for reparations. Yeah, you might be dead looking up, waiting for reparations, right? Okay, so let me go on. This hybrid powered craft, 3i Atlas, has been timed as to be a type of quasi-messianic event. In other words, they're not going to come in and say, oh, we're Jesus Christ and we're coming back to save you. No, they're going to allow people to think that, right? You know how people play a game with you. And a lot of people, especially European pagans, I'm sorry to say, they're going to say, oh, this has got to be from God. We've been waiting. And, I've seen people comment already and say stuff like that. So they're ripe and ready to be deceived by the deceiver, Satan himself. And I did another video back here several months ago that was chronicling and how God showed me how Satan himself was flying down in Nevada and what was going on out there and how they were hurting people out there, mostly white males and females, doing something to them, changing them into, they still look like themselves, but they were changed. They were no longer acting and operating like, oh, what is this? Like, what are these creatures? Just stoic. I told people it was coming. And if you notice, there's so many disappearances of people lately in the last year or two, just so many. And then sometimes they'll find them and sometimes they don't. We already had a lot of disappearances, but it's been upped by a large percentage. I'm going to, like I said, put the links down there to give you those videos. Okay, so they're going to allow themselves, in other words, they're going to let the mind of the people play itself out. Oh, this must be our Savior, our Messianic Savior coming. Jesus, we've been waiting for him. Yeah, see how the whiteness and the blue eyes is getting to be, it's going to turn back on the ones who used it to subdue the earth and the indigenous people. That very, oh, we're superior, we are, supremacy, this going to be flipped on them. They're going to be the ones thinking these people are this, that, and this, and that. And then once these people have, control, these beings have control, everything is going to change. You're not going to be treated like your supremacy. Let's put it like that. Okay, so they knew the clock was ticking. There was a timeline for them to return. And even in, I think, Isaiah, it talks about how God is going to blast, blast their, little hubs up in space. And so they know they only have a little time to get back down here, take control of Babylon, make their base camp, get the humans that have already infected, with the COVID shot, and the all this radio, stuff going on, the radio waves and stuff going. The food is toxified. Everything has been done to set up for this arrival. That's what you got to understand. It's bigger than you think. Okay. So let me see if I've got everything. So what must you do? I can't tell you what to do. All I can tell you is when the Most High told me to leave, I left America. And then, of course, I was in Hawaii for a little while, which might be 2,000 miles away, but it's still under, that control. And I can tell you that if you obey, no matter what you think you have or you don't have, if you pray and ask the Most High, okay, Father, I want to protect my family. I want to protect myself. I don't want to be here when all of this onslaught comes. Help me to know what to do, which way to go. keep watching these videos because I'm only putting out what the Most High told me to speak to you. This is not some made up trickery. This is real. And even when I was watching some of the stuff when it first came out that it was coming, the Most High told me that thing is not no 7 miles long. He kept telling me that thing is a lot bigger. We're talking about the 3-eye atlas. That thing is a lot bigger than that. It's huge. And just, it was funny, even today, awesome brother of the Most High, YHWH Israel, sent me a video where it was chronicling now that they're saying, oh, this thing is bigger than that. It's about close to 40 kilometers, you know, not 20. So the Most High has been telling me things step by step, and I try not to watch too much stuff because I don't want to get information, you know, from a source that's not the Most High. So I stay away from it as far as I can, but I was glad he sent that because it was confirmation of what the Most High was telling me and what I was going to put in the video. So I just give Yahweh all the praise and the glory that he is actually warning you, preparing you for what's up ahead. Take it seriously. It's not a joke. It's not someone trying to get, you know, people on my site. For as I was concerned, I thought I was done anyway. When I did my last little jump, and I got maybe one more jump to do, I thought I was done, but the Lord said, wait, hold up. He showed me, I'm going to tell you this dream he showed me. And it was so touching, just a couple of days ago. And because I keep asking, well, Lord, is that enough? Do you want me to do any more videos? And I had this dream, and I'm going to try to tell it quick. I wanted to keep this video short, but this is important. So in this dream, I was outside. We had an old house. The old house is blown down now. But in the dream, I saw the old house. And there was this woman there. And I saw this black lady, black girl, you know, like in her 30s. You know, outside the house, but she was in a doghouse. And I was wondering, like, where is this woman in a doghouse? I'm looking at her. There was no bars. It was just, I knew it was a doghouse. And I was like, why is she in a doghouse? She's sort of like sitting down, or sort of, but you could see her, the front view. And I'm thinking, and I saw my dad. He was standing a little ways away. And usually when I see my dad in the dream, my dad has passed away. So usually when I see my dad, it's God, Yahweh Most High. He'll be a little bit bigger, stronger, but dark skin like my dad. And so I'm wondering, why is that girl in that doghouse? So I have this mind in my thinking in the dream, oh, I need to go in this, slip in this house, because this woman was a little ways away, but she was watching a little bit. So I slipped into the house to find the keys to unlock this doghouse. And so I got the keys and I put them in my pocket and I slipped back out and I went over to where this young lady was and I said, oh, I got ready to unlock whatever was holding her, right? And she says, you need some gloves. And I said, you know, the kind of gloves, the doctor gloves, you know, that cling to your hand tight. And so I had one on and I said, I've got a glove on. I'm like, why she asked me about gloves? I'm trying to get her, unlock her, set her free from this doghouse. And she said, you need 2 gloves. You need like 2 hands. So I look up and above us, it's like I saw the Most High. And he has this box. You know how you can buy the box of gloves? Like in the you know, when you go to the doctor, you'll see the box of gloves standing there so he can pop one on. And so he hands me down 2 out of the box and I put them on. And I'm thinking to myself, why is she worried about gloves? She need to be worried about getting out of that doghouse. And so as I'm letting her out, I start feeling this sorrow in my heart, as if I had known for a long time she was in there somehow, but I just took it, just brushed it off. And so as I'm walking her out, I tell her, I said, now you can go see your children whom you have not seen in a long time. And as I'm walking with her out past where we were towards the little opening of the road or whatever, I just start crying. I just start crying because I realized, oh my God, this woman hasn't seen her children. She hasn't seen her home. She's been in this doghouse, locked away, and I didn't realize how serious it was. Okay, so I didn't understand the dream when I woke up. But then I prayed and I asked the Lord, I said, what does this mean? I got gloves. What does the glove mean? And Semaki let me know, you got to work harder. to warn them and help them. They don't know they're in a dog's house. You know, the European pagans in ancient time were always called dogs. And because they were so unclean, they were you know, mean, aggressive, the emblem of lust. Look at Rome and Greece. And when the pagans would take us into bondage, we would learn a lot of their ways. And God would show us how wicked these people are. We were living in a fantasy land. You know, we was on, you know, in the ancient times, we were living in our own land, comfortable, having everything. We kept looking over there like, oh, I'd love to do what they do. I'd love to, interesting. They seem like they have more fun. You know, blondes have more fun. But God was trying to remind me that his people are locked. I think in the Bible they even say they've been taken, you know, and locked. And they won't let them go. They won't let them free. And so you basically, from God's perspective, you're living in a doghouse. You're living in a filthy, wicked place. Your children are not going to prosper. I don't care how much money you make, how many degrees you have, you are not going to prosper. You're going to give another generation over to the beast and the whore. And eventually, they're going to have to be destroyed right along with the pagan Gentiles. You're living in a doghouse, literally a dog's house. Now, with that being said, I'm going to let you think on this and reevaluate your position, because you still have time to make some thoughts, some prayers, seek God's counsel on what he wants you to do. And whatever he says, follow through, because like I said in the first part of the video, he's given us certain commands that he's expecting us to follow, like soldiers. Get out, run, flee. He didn't say stand and fight the pagans in Babylon. Where did he say fight that? He didn't say that. He didn't say fight for reparations in Babylon. He didn't say that. He didn't say fight and stay and wait until you get reparations. He said run, flee. Leave before all of the stuff caves in on you, the sickness, the disease, the death, and the entities that are going to be emerging now. Because once the little envoy gets permission, then you've just given permission to the dark forces that are under your feet, deep down in subterranean caverns. It's been living there for 40 or 50 years. The ones in the sea, in the Bermuda Triangle that butts up against Florida and North Carolina. They'll have permission then, just like Eve gave Satan permission. And that's going to be all they need. And then what are you going to do? And I'm going to keep bringing, I'm going to bring you some more on this, because I want to explain to you some of the specters and creatures that are going to be coming out, revealing themselves. And like I said, once everything gets locked down, it's going to be too late. So I thank you for joining me. It's been a little long, but I appreciate your time and your patience.